Friday here on WGR, brought to you by Celino Law. Car crash, call Celino. Call the 8s and buy Crosby's Pizza and Subs. Crosby's Hometown Fuel, game day ready since 1922. At this time on Fridays, we chat with Chris Brown, Buffalo Bills play-by-play man, who, Chris, if I remember correctly, Sal tells me you've got one of the best views this week. Is New England's one of the good ones, right?
Yeah, it is a very good broadcast booth.
All right.
Low, central. Yeah, it's really good.
Well, you got yourself a good view of what should be a good game. And part of the storyline this week, we also got to this with Sal, New England being underdogs, which, you could take that for what it's worth. You might think that the Bills have earned the benefit of the doubt in this spot. They're going on the road to play against a division opponent for the second time. They've never, or I shouldn't say never, they don't generally lose to a team twice in one season, and they get another crack at a New England team that first time around, it was probably the Bills' first sloppy game of the year, something we've seen a little bit of here and there. But Sean McDermott, no doubt, looking to tighten things up this week in New England.
Yeah, and I believe that is the only game in which New England has gotten 3 takeaways all season. But they don't make their own mistakes. That's kind of the key to the formula for the Patriots this year. They don't beat themselves, and they wait for the other team to make the mistake, and then they pounce on it and capitalize. And it's worked very well for them to the tune of 10 straight victories. I will say that it's very clear to me this week that the veterans are hyper aware of the fact that this is a potential hat and T-shirt game for the Patriots. And having won the last 5 division titles, they do not want to be the reason that the Patriots get to celebrate. So, it's very much on their radar, and I think it's going to serve as added motivation.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, the Patriots don't want to talk about it being a hat and T-shirt game, and the Bills do want to remind them, oh, no, you can't escape this. This is a hat and T-shirt game, so it keeps them very much motivated to keep this divisional race alive. What ends up, in your mind, being different this time around as compared to the first matchup, which was at Highmark months ago?
I think it's eliminating the mistakes. I think that's number one. And the Bills have had a tough time accomplishing that, particularly in road games. I know that the Patriots are already practicing in anticipation of going after the ball when James Cook is running with it. They had 2 separate practice squad players in number 4 jerseys.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit of psychological warfare to a point.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yep.
And Vrabel will play that game willingly. Yep. So, it's a situation where I think they're going to unquestionably be going after the ball on him. And I think we also have to remember, too, that the Patriots have evolved just like the Bills have. In terms of the team they are now. They now have a true home run threat at the running back position in Travion Henderson, who barely played in the game in Week 5. He is their breakaway threat and dynamic back in the backfield who can also catch passes. He's got a very similar skill set to James Cook and is every bit as fast. So that's an extra concern. And I think Kayshon Boutte has emerged as a true deep threat for them, with 6 or 7 receiving touchdowns, and we know Drake Maye can put it on the money deep down the field. So it's another threat that you have to be mindful of.
And Kayshon Boutte, like with him, we're all kind of holding our breath to find out what the update is on Christian Benford. I mean, he's been spectacular last couple weeks. Last week, of course, the pick 6, one of the great pick 6s and probably in Bills history. But the injury he picks up to make him limited. If they're without Benford, all of a sudden, I feel like he's one of the few that would really potentially change the outcome of the game, given how New England can stretch the ball down the field.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that Diggs had 10 catches for 146 yards the last time around, and knowing that Benford has followed the number 1 receiver of the opponent in 6 of the last 7 games in man coverage assignments, I was kind of wondering if Benford was going to be put on Diggs at times. Hopefully that's still an option for them. I will say Patriots are not super healthy either. They're going to be without their left tackle, Will Campbell, and their backup, Badarian Lowe, is a little nicked up right now and on the injury report too, and limited most of the week. And then their number 1 pass rusher, Harold Landry, went from limited to a non-participant yesterday with a knee injury, so that's something to keep an eye on. And then on top of that, Robert Spillane, their leading tackler, popped up on the injury report yesterday. It looks like he got injured in practice for the Patriots yesterday. So things to be keeping an eye on here as we get closer to game time.
Dalton Kincaid looked like he was good to go. You know, we've seen the Bills passing game without him, and when he's in there, it feels like the Bills, as a structurally built passing attack, they look like they're more comfortable when Kincaid is out there, and he had 100 yards in the first matchup. Would expect a big game from him again here.
Yeah, logic would say that, right? And I think they may feel like they've uncovered something. Granted, they were going against a horrible defense last week in Cincinnati, but I think seeing Knox and Hawes and Kincaid all factor into the passing attack, I wouldn't be surprised if they work to incorporate them more in the overall game plan in addition to the running backs, because the Patriots' corners on the outside are pretty darn good, and you may have to look elsewhere to make gains in the passing game, and I think the tight ends and the backs will be a very big part of the game plan this week.
Chris Brown joining us on the Western Hotline ahead of Bills Patriots. Defensively, pass rush, that's the thing to watch here, right? Joe Burrow had lots of time to kind of carve up the secondary before making a couple mistakes, and we'll see about Joey Bosa, but Drake May is another one where they've got to not only try to find a way to get him off his spot, but if he breaks out of the pocket, like, he's the guy that can hurt them. So I wonder if we see them employ that three-man rush with the spy, the mirror spy that they've used on Patrick Mahomes and a couple others, because May, of course, he's a guy that gets loose every once in a while.
He does. He would prefer to make plays from the pocket, but yes, you're 100% right. He can run around and make some stuff happen with his legs too. I think they'll use that at times. I don't think they're going to commit to it exclusively, whether that's down and distance situations that trigger the spy call or what have you. We'll have to see how they decide to play it, but I don't think it's something that they're going to be doing all the time, because as you know, when you do that, you take a defender out of the equation for the rest of your coverage.
Bills are always good in December, Chris. Is the best explanation that Josh Allen kind of saves his best for once we turn the calendar to the 12th month?
I think that's part of it. That's certainly part of it. And then I also think, the picture comes into clearer focus for everyone on the roster. What has to happen here? And I think the Bills know it's win now mode. They're still looking up at the Patriots, and they've got some ground to make up. And not only that, it is a very tightly packed wild card race. So every win is going to count big time here, and it could be the difference between playing the 2 seed or the 4 seed if you're still a wild card at the end of this thing. So I think they want to fight for as best a seed as they can possibly garner, and if they can stave off handing the division title over to the Patriots for one more week, I think they'd like to do that as well.
Chris Brown on the Western Hotline. Chris, did you have any fantasy teams with or against Kyle Pitts last night?
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
The crazy thing is, in my league, that guy was on waivers and available because he has been such a disappointment, right. And then he pops off last night. Crazy.
Yeah. Week 15 of a contract year. I mean, he might have made like $10 million just last night based on what happened in that game. All right, Chris. Well, safe travels, and we'll talk on Monday after Bills and Patriots.
Sounds good, guys. Have a good weekend.
All right, Chris Brown. His appearance here on Buffalo Bills Football Friday is brought to you by Northwest Bank. For what's next, get started at northwest.com.